Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Uday Khanna from Chandigarh Group of Colleges, Landra, Mohali. Today we are going to talk on module called Sampling and Sampling Distribution. Under it we'll discuss random sampling, non-random sampling, under the paper quantitative techniques for management decisions. After completing this module, you should be able to understand the basic concept of sampling, determine the reasons for sampling, develop an understanding about different sampling methods, distinguish between probability and non-probability sampling, decide when and how to use various sampling techniques, discuss the relative advantages and disadvantages of each sampling methods, followed by sampling error, and then problems in sampling, to be concluded by a summary. Researchers usually cannot make direct observations of every individual in the population they are studying. Instead, they collect data from a subset of individuals, a sample, and use those observations to make inferences about the entire population. Ideally, the sample corresponds to the large population on the characteristics of interest. In that case, the researcher inference from the sample is probably applicable to the entire population. The basic idea of sampling is to draw inferences about the population by selecting some elements of the population. This type of correspondence between the sample and the larger population is most important when a researcher wants to know what proportion of the population has a certain characteristics, like a particular opinion or a demographic feature. Public opinion polls that try to describe the percentage of the population that plans to vote for a particular candidate, for example, requires a sample that is highly representative of the population. For example, to know what percentage of Uttar Pradesh residents will vote in an upcoming election favor candidate A. Example 2, we want to know the mean birth weight of Rahuls born in Delhi this year. The following are some important terms we need to use and understand accurately in order to do inferential statistics. The important terms are population. It is the entire collection of individuals about which we desire information for the study. A population is any complete group, that is people, sales territories, stores, etc., sharing some common set of characteristics. It can be defined as including all people or items with the characteristics one wish to understand and draw inferences about them. For example, Uttar Pradesh residents who will vote in the upcoming election. Second, all Rahuls born in Delhi this year. Second term is parameter. A numerical summary, usually unknown but desired, based on the entire population. Example, percentage of Uttar Pradesh residents who will vote for candidate A in the upcoming election. Second, mean birth weight of all Rahuls in Delhi. Next important is sample. A subset of the population from which data is actually collected. For example, 10,000 Uttar Pradesh residents who claim they will vote and answered a telephonic survey. 250 Rahuls that are found and weights within 2 hours of birth. Next is statistics. A numerical summary based on data collected from the sample. For example, percentage of Uttar Pradesh residents in a telephone survey who say they favor candidate A. Second, mean weight of a sample of newborn Rahuls. Census. A census is an investigation of all the individual elements making up the population, a total listing rather than a sample. Next is population distribution of a variable. The value of a variable over a population can be thought of as a random variable because the value of the variable depends on which individual is selected. The probability distribution of this random variable is called the population distribution. And the last one is the sampling distribution of a statistics. A statistic computed from a random sample or in a randomized experiment is a random variable because the outcome depends on which individuals are included in the sample. The probability distribution of the sample statistic is called the sampling distribution. Sampling. Sampling is a statistical procedure that is concerned with the selection of certain individuals' observation from the target population. It helps to make statistical inferences about the population. Some of the basic terminologies are as follows. 1. Sampling frame. The sample frame is the list of people, objects for inanimate populations that makes up the target population. It is a list of individuals who meet the requirements to be a member of that population. The sample is selected from the sample frame by specifying the sample size, either as a finite number or as a proportion of the population, and the sampling method, that is, the process by which we choose the members of the sample. Sample. A sample is a subset or some part of a larger population. It is a smaller but hopefully representative collection of units from a population used to determine truth about that population. The sample has many advantages over a census or complete enumeration. When designed carefully, the sample may give results which are just accurate and sometimes more accurate than those of a census, and is also considerably cheaper than the census. Hence, a carefully designed sample may actually be better than a poorly planned and executed census. Sample design. A sample design is a definite plan for obtaining a sample from a given population. It helps to decide the number of items to be selected in the sample, that is the size of the sample. Purpose of sampling is to estimate an unknown characteristics of a population. It is all about selecting a random sample which is true representative of the population under study. The idea is to compute a suitable value from the sample data related to test statistics by using the appropriate distribution. It constitutes a certain portion of the population or universe. Sampling design. Sampling design refers to the technique or procedures the researcher undergoes for selecting items as samples from the population or the universe. Basic principles of sampling. Theory of sampling is based on the following laws. First, law of statistical regularity. These laws come from the mathematical theory of probability. According to King, law of statistical regularity says that a moderately large number of the items chosen at random from the large group are almost sure on the average to possess the features of the large group. According to this law, the units of the sample must be selected at random. Second, law of inertia of large numbers. This law states that the other things being equal, the larger the size of the sample, the more accurate the results are likely to be. Characteristics of sampling. There are several interesting reasons to go for sampling. These might be lower cost, saves times, better accuracy, much reliable, greater speed of data collection, precision. The reasons why one must avoid sampling are lack of representative samples, chances of bias, problems of accuracy, and sampling errors. Types of sampling. Two types, probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Types of probability sampling. First is simple random sampling. Second, systematic sampling. Third, stratified random sampling. Two parts, proportionate, disproportionate. Fourth is cluster or area sampling. And fifth is the multi-stage sampling. Types of non-probability sampling. First is convenience sampling. Second is judgment sampling. Third is snowball sampling. And fourth is quota sampling. An important fact about the term random. The term which differentiates probability from non-probability sampling is random. In sampling, the term random has entirely different meaning from its dictionary meaning. In dictionary, the term random stands for without pattern, or haphazard, while in sampling, the term random selection implies the controlled procedure where each element of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Here, the procedure is never haphazard. In fact, it is probability samples which gives the precise estimate of the population under study. Types of probability sampling. The best sampling is probability sampling because it increases the likelihood of obtaining samples that are representative of the population. First is probability sampling is also called as representative sampling or samples. Probability samples are selected in such a way as to be representative of the population. They provide the most valid or credible results because they reflect the characteristics of the population from which they are selected. Example, residents of a particular community, students at an elementary school, etc. Now there are two types of probability sampling, random and stratified. First is simple random sampling. It is a sampling procedure where each element in the population will have an equal chance of being selected in the sample. This process is simple because it requires only one stage of sample selection process. Here we number each frame unit from 1 to n. Then use a random number table or a random number generator to select small n distinct numbers between 1 and capital N inclusively. It is easier to perform for small populations but cumbersome for large populations. Second is systematic random sampling. It is convenient and relatively easy to measure. Here, an initial starting point is selected by a random process. Then every nth number on the list is selected. The first sample element is selected randomly from the first k population elements. Thereafter, sample elements are selected at a constant interval small k from the ordered sequence frame. The formula is k is equal to capital N divided by small n, where small n is equal to sample size, capital N is equal to population size, small k is equal to size of selection interval. For example, one wishes to take a sample of 50 from a list consisting of 10,000 purchase orders. Purchase orders for the previous fiscal year are serialized 1 to 10,000, that is, capital N is equal to 10,000. A sample of 50, small n is equal to 50, purchases order is needed for an audit. Small k is equal to 10,000 divided by 50 is equal to 200. First sample element randomly selected from the first 200 purchase orders. Assume the 45th purchase order was selected. Subsequent sample elements becomes 245, 445, 645 and so on. Third comes the stratified random sampling. Here, the population is divided into non-overlapping subpopulations called strata. A random sample is selected from each stratum. Each stratum is then sampled as an independent subpopulation out of which individual elements can be randomly selected. Every unit in a stratum has the same chance of being selected. Two types are, first is proportionate, stratified random sampling. The percentage of the sample taken from each stratum is proportionate to the percentage that each stratum is within the population. Second type is disproportionate stratified random sampling. Proportions of the strata within the sample are different than the proportion of the strata within the population. Now see example here given in the diagram, that is stratified random sample, the population of reading habits. Now here we have made the strata with the help of age. For example, you can see here in the diagram there are three different strata based on the age demographic. The first strata is from 18 to 25 years old, second strata is from 25 to 40 years old, and the third strata is from 40 to 60 years old. Now we are trying to understand the reading habits of the different strata taken as an example. So we assume that the people, the young generation who lies between 18 to 25 years of age, they have the same reading habits. Second strata, the person who lies between 25 to 40 years of age, they must be having the same reading habits. And the last one, people who lies between 40 to 60 years of age must be having the same reading habits. So here we have three strata based on age factor, and these all strata are homogeneous within, but they are heterogeneous between them. So the reading habits of the first strata is different from the reading habits of the second strata, and the reading habits of the second strata is different from the reading habits of the third strata. Then comes the cluster sampling. It is also called as two-stage sampling. In first stage, a sample of areas is chosen. In second stage, a sample of respondents within those areas is selected. Here, population is divided into non-overlapping clusters or areas of homogeneous units, usually based on geographical dispersed population. Each cluster is a miniature or microsome of the population. A subset of the clusters is selected randomly for the sample. If the number of elements in the subset of clusters is larger than the desired value of small n, these clusters may be subdivided to form a new set of clusters and subjected to a random selection process. Now you can see in the diagram again, we have taken 6 different clusters numbered as 1, 2 a single cluster, 3, 4 second cluster, 5, 6 again a cluster, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 likewise. And from here we have randomly picked cluster 5 and 6 in a single set and cluster 11 and 12 in a second set. So now these two clusters 5, 6 in a single row and 11, 12 in the second row becomes the sample for our study. Likewise, you see the other diagram that we have different cluster units represented by different colors like blue, green, red, orange and violet. So here also we see here the characteristics of the population in a cluster are different, that is they are heterogeneous, but all clusters are homogeneous between them. So we can randomly pick any two clusters. For example, here we have picked one cluster in blue unit and the second clusters in the red unit. So you can see here that the natural grouping is within the population and whole groups have been sampled here. Now quickly we have a comparison of stratified and cluster sampling to make it more easier. So see here, the first one is stratified sampling. Here homogeneity is within the group, while in the cluster sampling, homogeneity is between the groups. Stratified sampling, heterogeneity is between the groups, while in cluster sampling, heterogeneity is within groups. In stratified sampling, all groups are included, while in cluster sampling, random selection of groups is been there. In stratified, random sampling in each group, in cluster, census within the group. In stratified, sampling efficiency improved by increasing accuracy at a faster rate than cost, while in cluster sampling, sampling efficiency is improved by decreasing cost at a faster rate than accuracy. Again, a quick review of the differences given in the figure to make it more understand. Now, again a comparison between the stratified and cluster sampling. In stratified sampling, the population is separated into strata and then sampling is conducted within each stratum. While in cluster sampling, the population is separated into clusters and then clusters are sampled. Second, in stratified sampling, analysis of individual strata is permitted in addition to analysis of the total sample. While in cluster, analysis of individual categories, that is called clusters, are permitted in addition to analysis of the total sample. In case of stratified sampling, in order to minimize sampling error within group, differences among strata should be minimized and between group differences among strata should be maximized. While in case of cluster sampling, in order to minimize sampling error within group, differences should be consistent with those in the population and between group differences among the clusters should be minimized. In case of stratified random sampling, a sampling frame is needed for the entire target population, while in case of cluster sampling, a single state cluster sampling, a sampling frame is needed only for the clusters. In two-stage and multi-stage cluster sampling, a sampling frame of individual elements is needed only for the elements in the clusters selected at the final stage. In case of stratified, main purpose is to increase precision and representation, while in cluster, the main purpose is to decrease cost and increase operational efficiency. In stratified, categories are imposed by the researcher, while in cluster, categories are naturally occurring pre-existing groups. In stratified, more precision is compared to the simple random sampling. In cluster, lower precision compared to the simple random sampling. In stratified, the variable used for stratification should be related to the research problem. In cluster, the variables used for clustering should not be related to the research problem. The common stratification variables are age, gender, income, race. Common classification for cluster variables could be geographical area, school, grade level. Stratified sampling requires more prior information than cluster sampling, while cluster sampling requires less prior information than stratified sampling. Multi-stage sampling. Multi-stage sampling, also known as multi-stage cluster sampling, is a more complex form of cluster sampling, which contains two or more stages in sample selection. In multi-stage sampling, large clusters of population are divided into small clusters in several stages in order to make primary data collection more manageable in terms of cost effectiveness and time effectiveness. It is quite effective in primary data collection from geographically dispersed population where face-to-face contact is required. For example, semi-structured in-depth interviews. Non-probability sampling. They are not truly representative sample of the population. Non-probability samples are less desirable than probability samples. However, a researcher may not be able to obtain a random or stratified sample, or it may be too expensive. A researcher may not care about generalizing to a larger population. The validity of non-probability samples can be increased by trying to approximate random selection and by eliminating as many sources of bias as possible. Types of non-probability sampling. First one is convenience sampling, a type of non-probability sampling which involves the sample being drawn from that part of the population which is close to hand, that is, readily available and convenient. It is also termed as grab or opportunity sampling or accidental or haphazard sampling. Sample elements are selected for the convenience of the researcher. The researcher using such a sample cannot scientifically make generalizations about the total population from this sample because it would not be representative enough. This type of sampling is most useful for pilot testing. Second is judgment sampling. Here the sample elements are selected by the judgment of the researcher. The researcher chooses the sample based on who they think would be appropriate for the study. This is used primarily when there are a limited number of people that have expertise in the area being researched. Third is quota sampling. The defining characteristics of a quota sample is that the researcher deliberately sets the proportion of levels or strata within the sample. This is generally done to ensure the inclusion of a particular segment of the population. The proportions may or may not differ dramatically from the actual proportion in the population. The researcher sets a quota independent of population characteristics. Here, the population is first segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, just as in stratified sampling. Then, judgment is used to select subjects or units from each segment based on a specified proportion. In quota sampling, the selection of the sample is non-random in nature. For example, an interviewer may be told to sample 200 females and 300 males between the age of 45 and 60. He might be tempted to interview those who look most helpful. Purposive sampling. A purposive sampling is a non-representative subset of some large population and is constructed to serve a very specific need or purpose. A researcher may have a specific group in mind, such as high-level business executives. It may not be possible to specify the population. They would not all be known and access will be difficult. The researcher will attempt to zero in on the target group, interviewing whoever is available. A subset of a purposive sampling is a snowball sample, so named because one picks up the sample along the way, analogous to a snowball accumulating snow. A snowball sample is achieved by asking a participant to suggest someone else who might be willing or appropriate for the study. Survey subjects are selected based on referral from other survey respondents. In social science research, snowball sampling is a similar technique where existing study subjects are used to recruit more subjects into the sample. Snowball samples are particularly useful in hard-to-track populations such as trans or drug users, etc. Non-probability samples are limited with regard to generalization because they do not truly represent a population. We cannot make valid inferences about the larger group from which they are drawn. Validity can be increased by approximating random selection as much as possible and making every attempt to avoid introducing bias into the sample selection. Types of error. First is sampling error. If researchers are not careful in planning and defining the sampling process, it can lead to faulty research findings. Sampling error is the error that occurs because of a representative sample from the population rather than the entire population. In statistical terminology, it is the difference between the statistics you measure and the parameter you would find if you took a census of the entire population. Sample error cannot be eliminated, but it can be reduced. In general, it works like the larger the sample, the smaller the margin of error. Sampling error is a number that describes the precision of an estimate from any one of those samples. It is usually expressed as a margin of error associated with a statistical level of confidence. For example, a presidential preference poll may report that the incumbent is favored by 51% of the voters, with a margin of error of plus or minus 3 points at a confidence level of 95%. This means that if the same survey were conducted with 100 different samples of voters, 95 of them would be expected to show the incumbent favored by between 48% and 54% of the voters, that is 51% plus minus 3%. All other things being equal, smaller samples, example those with fewer than 1000 respondents, have greater sampling error than large samples. To better understand the notion of sampling error, it is helpful to recall that data from a sample provide merely an estimate of the true proportion of the population that has a particular characteristic. If 100 different samples are drawn from the same sampling frame, they could potentially result in 100 different patterns of responses to the same question. These patterns, however, would converge around the true patterns in the population. The margin of error due to sampling decreases as sample size increases to a point. For most purposes, samples of between 1000 and 2000 respondents have a sufficiently small margin of error that large samples, and they are not cost effective as well. However, if subgroups are to be examined, a large sample may be necessary because the margin of error for each subgroup is determined by the number of people in it. For example, although a national survey with a probability sample of 1000 adults has a margin of error of roughly 1 to 3 percentage points using a 95% confidence interval, analysis of response from the caste Rajput in that samples whose probability number around 100 would have a margin of error of roughly 4 to 10 points. Non-sampling error. This is due to poor data collection methods like faulty instruments or inaccurate data recording, missing data, selection bias, non-response bias, where individuals don't want to or cannot respond to a survey, poorly conceived concepts, vague definitions, and defective questions. Increasing the sample size will not reduce these errors. The key is to avoid making the errors in the first place with a well-planned design for the survey or experiment. Typical problem in sampling. Sample is of insufficient size, the sample is biased, the wrong variable were measured, and the data precision is low. So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. A sample is a subset of a population group of individuals of interest to the researcher. The type of sample selected determines the degree to which research results can be generalized to the population as a whole, which is called external validity. Probability samples are representative of the population. They permit generalization to the population from which they are drawn. Non-probability sampling is subjective in nature and based on the discretion of the researcher. There are two sources of error that limit generalizability: sampling error, that is called chance variation, and sample bias, that is called constant error, which results from the inadequate research design. Thank you very much.